Hello, and welcome to Outer Spaces, a podcast dedicated to empowering designers and contractors in the outdoor living space.
Through this show, we hope to create a powerful resource for you, someone who is trying to grow their company but might not have all the tools and processes to do so.
On Outer Spaces, we are passionate about breaking the chains of small mindsets and helping contractors just like you take control of their businesses and their lives. My name is Joshua Gillow.
And I'm Dwayne Drawn.
Through our 40 years of combined dirt under the nails experience, we look forward to sharing tips, strategies, and other contractor success stories here on the Outer Spaces podcast.
Without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Hello, and welcome back to the Outer Spaces podcast, sponsored by Yes Express. And today we have a super special guest on. I know I say that each week, but it's always amazing the incredible people that we get to meet along this journey of podcasting and connecting with. And the gentleman that we're going to be talking to today, a lot of you guys probably already know him. He's been around the industry for over 30 years. He's a president at Green System Solutions. He's a business coach for landscape contractors. I'm sure you heard his name or seen him in a Facebook group. He's always adding great value. We had I've had the privilege of having dinner with him down in, I think it was DC, right, Jim?
Yeah, in Reston, I think it was.
I think so. During one of the Techo shows. Yeah, we had dinner and it just, when you meet somebody and you're like, these are good people, right? So we had a great meal with a bunch and Jim and I sat next to each other and started shooting the shit. And I was like, you know what, we're like, I don't know, similar people. Let's put it that way. So I figured it'd be great to bring on the podcast. We could have a great conversation, see what he's seeing in the industry, see what he's teaching during his business coaching, how he's helping others prepare for the craziness in the world now with inflation and the change of economies and what's going on in business in general with all these new startups and everything. So I guess without any further ado, Jim Wertz, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate it. And I think we really, met in the first couple minutes and just sort of hit it off. It's like, you have that connection with people sometimes. And it was like, 100%. Like this guy, we sort of think similar, and then as we talk through the evening, we definitely have some similar interest in, personal development and that type of thing. So,
100%.
And that's what really got me through my business was switching from just wearing too many hats, which a lot of business owners are wearing, and it wears you down, right? Like you can it's really hard, it's stressful, especially this time of year. And so I learned somebody once told me to meditate. And at the time it was like, I might as well just go jump in wet cement because I didn't even know what that meant, So I'd literally try to sit quietly. And when I had my landscape business, which I had for over 35 years, I remember the first few times I tried to meditate, it was like I was shaking after 5 minutes. I just couldn't sit still. I had so many things going through my head. It was ridiculous. I'm like, I don't know how people calm their mind. It's crazy. But it's like riding a bike. The more you do it. But it really helps, as you know, and really helps get you centered into what's really meaningful in life. And it gives you the answers of where you need to take your business, quite honestly.
It does. That's the quiet time where you can start processing things that you wouldn't normally have time for. So we'll definitely get into more of that here in our conversation. But Jim, so our listeners, if they don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about your past, how you got into this industry and what your career was like. Are you still in the industry? Kind of give us a framework of where you are and how you got there.
Yeah. So I started in 1979. I was 19 years old. Prior to that, I worked at a couple golf courses and for other landscapers in my local area. I'm in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And when I was a senior in high school, my sister's boyfriend suggested, why don't you go to landscape school, which I didn't know what landscaping was. So I went to Penn State for 2 years, associate degree, learned a lot about plants and weeds and identification, how to grow things. When I got out of there, when I was 19, I knew nothing about business, like how to estimate, knowing your numbers, all that good stuff. So it was a roller coaster ride for a while, trying to put all that together. But I had my own landscape company for 35 years, typically had 12, 15 employees. And through the process, I knew early on if I got sick, hurt, or injured, and I want guys to really listen to this is important, is when I realized, because I did get sick for a little bit, and I realized if I got sick, hurt, or injured, my company was going downhill really quick because I did not have systems in place. Mm-hmm. So I started focusing on, okay, how can I get this thing to run on its own, at least for a while, at least for a day or two, if I'm out of the picture? And I find a lot of companies, I work with a lot of companies over in the United States and Canada, and I find a lot do not have those systems set in place. And I just, it's not a warning, but I really want them to be aware that things change, right? But, when I started my business, interest rates, we're talking about recession and inflation. It was back in the gas and oil embargo, and interest rates were on average 17% when I started my business. And nobody was borrowing money. Nobody was hiring anybody. Everybody was just like laying low key. The economy was like dead. So I basically did the only thing I could do. I took my $50 I had in my pocket and went knocking on doors and building relationships with people. And I'd take any kind of jobs they would throw at me to begin. And that's how I got started.
I love that. I love that, dude. And yeah, I mean, I was actually born in '78, so you got me trumped there for sure. Going through that time now, what kind of information would you share with somebody starting out right now who has never been through, any of this inflation, hyperinflation, things that are going on, even stagflation coming, like all these things? Like, what's different than what was the last 1 to 5 years of the economy as you've seen it? Like, how do you strategize that differently?
Well, for the last few years, it's been everybody's had more work they can handle, always trying to find good employees, right? That's always an issue. But it's the economy's been strong the last few years. And, I always say you don't even have to be good at sales. You'll go out and get all the work you can get right now because people are basically throwing it at you. Now, that's a little over assumptive, but everybody needs to be good at sales. Sales is super important. But now I think that when I started, when I got into it, I didn't realize it was as bad as it was. So sometimes that's a good thing. If you don't know what you're jumping into, you just take it where you're at and run with it, which is exactly what I did. If I would have jumped into the way it is now, where you could just go out and get all kinds of work and really blow up fast, and then be dumped into the time when I got started, which was like nobody was spending money. Nobody was borrowing money, 17%. Interest rate, like credit card interest rates, right? So I always say that the businesses who put systems in their business to run as a business are going to have a much better chance of surviving when a recession hits because they know their numbers, they know sales, which is super important, and they need to know communication skills. We talk about in my coaching program, like how to communicate with your customers and your employees. So yeah, it's a lot we get into, but it's really having systems in place and then have a vision of where your company is going. I'm working with some guys who've been in business for 25 years and they're like, Jim, I worked really, really hard for 25 years and I'm not happy where I'm at. Like I made some money, but it's not enough money to retire on. And I'm just feeling like I'm stuck. And I don't want people to get in that situation.
No, totally, dude. Totally. Oftentimes I used to be guilty of this. That's why I can say this, but I feel like, the first years, especially, and sometimes it's entire career that you have 1 year experience repeated 20 times. Right? Because you're not growing, you're not constantly adding those systems, you're not asking or the question why or what if or how could I or what's the next big thing coming or how am I going to grow or how am I going to serve my clients better. I love your angle coming in with having great communications, going door to door with $50 in your pocket saying, look, dude, I'm here to do whatever you need me to do. That's what you have to do sometimes when things get tough. You got to roll your sleeves up and get out of your ego, right? So tell us a little bit about your journey going from there into, having all those employees and the kind of projects and things like that you did.
Yeah. So basically, with the background of, if I got sick, hurt, or injured, my family was in jeopardy. I have 4 girls. They all worked in the landscape on the crews and in the nursery as they grew up until they were old enough to realize they didn't want to do that and fled. No, they enjoyed it. But they all say, it was a great work experience and it's really built their foundation for a good work ethic. So good. I had them potting plants when they're like 8 years old, nice. Paying them, per pot. So they did quite well. It was pretty cool. And with the having a family, my wife and I have been together it would be 40 years this October. This is the other thing we talk about in the coaching program is not only about systems and being profitable and sales and communication and how to find employees and retain employees is the family life, because it is all directly tied right there, baby. when you come home at night and you're complaining about Mrs. Jones, who's late on payment or didn't give you a check or, is yelling at you or whatever it is, the wife's taking it full face. And so's the family. They hear it. Right. And my wife and I, we went through that for a while, and it was a struggle because she didn't want to hear it. Like, it's like, okay, I don't want to hear it anymore. It's like same old every night. Yep. So just little things like that, I learned to start to realize, like, well, if I want to keep a family together, I better put this thing together better. So I'm not always complaining about the business and basically having a shackle tied to my ankle where the business owns me. Yeah. And I find that's happening a lot out there. It's like a lot of guys are like the hustle and grind. And I believe in the hustle and grind to a point, but then I don't. It's like, you got to work hard, but you got to work smart. And one of my goals, Josh, was as simple as it was one of my goals after I got things set up was to be at home every night to have dinner with my family. That was important to me. Yeah. And because we all know we could have a million excuses why we're not, I got to go do an estimate, or, I got to go fix the mower or whatever it is, and make these excuses up not to attend dinner, family event. So it can get away from us pretty quickly. So going back to knowing if I got sick, hurt, or injured, I had to have things systematized in my business so it could keep running as time went on. Yep. And that's what I worked on from that day on. A little bit here, went to seminars, trade shows, and just, back then was pre-internet. So you couldn't just Google somebody like, oh, there's a landscape coach. Whoop-de-doo. I didn't even know they existed back then. Yeah. One of my first guys I hired was Jim Houston out of Colorado. You ever heard of Jim?
I have not. No.
Yeah. He was great. And he was just sort of getting started back in the time. But a quick story, I'll tell you a quick story. And then, so as I got started, like I said, I got out of Penn State, knew a lot about plant material identification, knew the trees, shrubs, but nothing about business, nothing about knowing your numbers, nothing about, bidding, how to deal with people, how to hire employees, I knew nothing of that. It was all like raw piece of leather. So I knew I needed help. And so I was down in a seminar in Philadelphia, walking down the hallway, and I heard this guy in there talking. I couldn't get in the room. It was full. Here was no other than Charles Vanderkoy. You ever hear that name?
I've been to seminars.
He was amazing. That guy was. I wished 100%. I would have latched onto him harder, but I could hear him talking. I was out in the hallway. After about 10 minutes, I looked and I realized I didn't understand a word he just said. Like, he was talking about overhead recovery, and he's going on about estimating, and I'm like, sounds Chinese to me. I mean, at that point I knew I was so off the mark. It wasn't even funny. That guy was in there talking about stuff I couldn't even understand. So through that, I hooked up with Jim Houston. I don't remember how I got hold of Jim. He was in Colorado. I'm in Pennsylvania. He flew in. I borrowed money on my credit card. He told me, buy a computer. And he didn't ask me. He told me, you want to be successful? You buy this computer. At the time, it was $2,500, like early 80s, right? The thing was as big as this room. And I had to get this. I had to start learning DOS to use it. DOS. That's like,
wow.
Yeah. It's like how to program a computer. That's how far back. It's pretty ridiculous. But I had the desire to learn it, and I wanted to learn it. And he came in, he taught me how to estimate and know your numbers. And he showed me, told me that, when you know your numbers, then you have confidence. And when you have confidence, you can crush sales. And when he said that to me, it was like a laser light hit me in the forehead. I thought, he's right. And that was the biggest thing. I think I spent like $5,000 on that whole venture, which I borrowed on my credit card. Yeah. And I was sweating bullets because I didn't know this guy that well. So sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, right? Yep. But it was one of the best things I ever did. Got rolling on estimates. Within a month, I recovered that $5,000 and went on to bid all kinds of work because I had the confidence to know my numbers and go out and just really be able to walk away from jobs when somebody said, hey, here's the price, and somebody's bidding lower. Do you want it? Nope, I don't want it. This is my number. I got to stay here. We can take things out of the job, but I'm not dropping it because there's my profit and it does no good. So, yeah.
I love that dude. And Charles, I'll never forget Charles. I was blessed to have an afternoon with him in a seminar, and that dude was just on fire. He's yelling and screaming. If anybody that's listening, it knows when it was Charles and his contractors and all the stuff he would do. Oh my goodness. And we actually hired Jerry Gay to come in and to take a look at everything and get us all set. And yeah, it was really good. That was one hell of a group, and that was the first time I had ever dived into to overhead recovery. I didn't understand the concept. So I'm like, I got to hire. We spent probably $5,000 and get him out there. And we spent 2 days together, and he completely revolutionized my business. That was before the 07-08 crash. And thank God that we did that, because we skated through. We just stayed in the black, but we skated through because we would not lower our pricing, because I knew exactly where we needed to be. And that is so powerful. And it's so great to see Wes over at, Synced Up now, taking that whole idea of it and bringing it into a software package to make it even easier for everybody to use. And anyway, it just gives you, to your point, it just gives you so much confidence. You're like, no, $81,319 is it? What do you want to take out? You want to do the demo? You want to just switch it from pavers to concrete? That's the only way this thing's going to change. So it's powerful.
Yeah. You'll love this. I just had one of my guys on. We do group coaching call every Tuesday morning. And one of my guys, we were talking, he said he just closed like $400,000 in sales in the last 2 days. Nice. He's already he did like $1 million last year. He's already hit that mark at the beginning of May and just keeps continuing to crush it. So I said, so tell me what changed from last year to this year. Why you just out crushing it? Like all last year you did $1 million. Now this year you're already at $1 million in sales. At the beginning of May, what changed? And he said, just following the sales process, following up is what he said. Just following up with people and just letting them know that from the time I meet them till the time I give them a proposal, I'm touching base with them. Yeah. Because a lot of guys just sort of leave it sit in limbo and then there's no communication. And people are like, did he forget about me? Like, oh, I better call somebody else because this guy, I think he forgot. I better get 6 other bids now. So the last guy who gave him a big job, he was $90,000 over what the other competition, and the guy went with him $90,000 over the competition because he asked, why did he go with me? Why did you go with me? He said, because I could tell you were up front and you were going to take care of me by your communication and your follow-up. That was the answer.
Huge.
So, and I hammer, like, communication is so important, and it's never talked about. Like, it's, it's always about other stuff, but communication is key. If you're good at communicating, you can, name your number, because it's all about adding value. It's not about the price. It's adding value and just taking care of people.
Yeah, it's when your perceived value is higher than the number you're asking, it's a done deal. The sale's done. It's when you go in there trying to add the least amount of value pre-sale, then all of a sudden go in there and asking for a big check after adding no value or very little value. Like, oh, we can build it for you. Oh, great. That's nice. So can everybody else at the door. How are you different? How are you bringing more to the plate? And if you're building them, pre-sale, working through, explaining to them why it's better to do, I'm just gonna use an example, pavers over concrete or whatever it might be. And all of a sudden you're a guide to them instead of trying to sell them stuff. You're just trying to help them make great decisions. You become a trusted advisor. And that value is much higher than a contractor trying to sell them a patio. That's where the value is made. It's before any money is ever exchanged. So you already know that, but I just want to make sure the listeners are listening to that, because it's not just show up and whoever has the cheapest price, because you can do that, but you won't be in business very long. If you want the higher dollar value projects, you've got to add so much value before that it's almost reciprocity that they're going to give you the project to do. Because like, oh my God, this guy's been with me the whole time, and I know I would be steered perfectly clear with this person. They get it. They're in it to win it with me, not just another number in their book in order to make their nut for the year. People know that our buyers are becoming much more sophisticated now, and it's not just bushes and patios. We're talking outdoor living spaces, just like they would treat somebody designing, an architect designing their house. They're doing the same thing outside now. So that sophistication is going up. So you better be up in your game and learning how to communicate, or you're going to get lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
For sure.
So points too.
And the interesting part you mentioned about, you had your daughters in the business and you didn't want to be, if you ever got injured or somehow hurt, that you didn't want everything to be kind of on your shoulders. And I was in that for many years, that kind of thing. Even though it was a family business, I felt like a lot of the stuff that we were doing, if I would stop, then everything would slow down or completely stop. So for me, the transition was when I met my wife, and she's from Germany. So we would go and see family, and we wouldn't go for a weekend, right? You're not flying that far and doing all that for a weekend. She's like, a standard is 2 to 3 weeks, and she's European. So of course that's pretty standard for them. And I'm this farm boy from Pennsylvania who's like 2 weeks a year, maybe, right? No, 3 weeks in the spring or the summer, back to back on a foreign continent. You know what I mean? Like, holy crap. So I was kind of almost, I guess, forced into creating a business that could last when I wasn't there. And back then you couldn't get cell service, right? Or if you did, it was ridiculously expensive. I met her almost 20 years ago. We married 16 years. So it's a very different world back then. So we had to build the systems and processes so I could go see my in-laws and my family abroad and all that. So that was my motivator, right? And then all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, this worked there. Why doesn't it work everywhere, right? It's funny how you find the motivation, but anyway, it's good stuff. Yeah. So, the interesting part is, Jim, some listeners might be thinking, wait a minute here. So Jim's a business coach and he teaches things like sales and he thinks like business stuff and all the stuff he's learned over 35 years. And I know Josh does that too. He does sales and he does design, all that stuff. Why the hell would he bring him on this podcast? Isn't this kind of a problem? Like, isn't this like a conflict or some kind of a competitive type thing? And the one thing I love about Jim is that we're here to empower people and to help people. And if we can come together on a podcast and do that, or hell, even if someone comes through my doors and I think Jim's a better choice, it's going to help them, I'm going to send them to Jim. That's just, it's what it is. We're here to help people and not just try to, take everything for ourselves. So I just wanted to clear up any thoughts that might be going on in people's minds. Like, why the hell would he do this? This doesn't make any sense. It almost seems like he's putting a knife to his own throat. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but we don't see it that way, guys. That's why we love giving. So if you have anything you want to throw on that, Jim, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, once you realize the world is actually, and I sort of blow people away in my coaching program with, we talk about mindset and prosperity and that type of thing. But I'm convinced that it's not. And I tell guys before they even join my coaching program, hey, you're not going to come in and be like, wow, I'm free. I've, a couple sessions and I'm good. I'm like, no, it's not how it works. It's an incremental. You're going to sit there in some of these calls. And honestly, some calls you're going to walk away and go, okay, whatever, cool. And some calls you're going to listen to one thing somebody says, either I say or somebody else in the group says, it'd be like, that's it. That's what I needed, man. Now I can take and make $100,000 more this year by that one simple idea. And that's what it is. It's these simple ideas, strategies, calls. And here's what I tell my guys all the time. I know you're busy. Like, list on your calendar in the last 2 years when you had a time that you weren't busy. Doesn't happen. I don't care if you're peak season like now or off season, you're always going to be busy, right? Personal stuff, kids stuff, business stuff. So get over it. Like, here's the deal. You have to set time each week to work on your business. I don't care how many employees you have, whether we work with multi-million-dollar a year companies, we work with companies doing $200,000 gross revenue, small and big, but it's all business principles. But I tell them, show up for the calls, get ready to take some notes and be attentive, because where your focus goes, where your energy is, your focus is, and focus is everything. So I tell them that, take an hour or two a week to work on your business, just to put like one little system in place that will, give you potentially tens of thousands of dollars of revenue or save you time. So we focus on three things: is saving people time, saving them money, or making them money. That's really what we hone in on. And a lot of stuff, it's just a little ideas, a system can be anything. One thing we talk about all the time, it sounds so simple, but very few do it, is make a plan and work the plan. Make a plan and work the plan. Like, get a calendar, simple calendar, could be a Google calendar, whatever. And each week you specify that you're going to work on finding an office admin, a half hour every Tuesday between 3 and 3:30. That's your goal. Like, shut the phone off, whatever, focus on that. And you do it every week. That's what successful people do. They're consistent. Otherwise, if you don't write it down, put it on a calendar, it's quickly forgotten, because you're being bombarded with all these little things every day. So we teach them, to use the calendar to specify important things that need done week to week so they don't forget them. And it's just, it's simple, but it's really effective. And when they do that, they start to see a big impact in their business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Some of the biggest changes start with the littlest steps each day. I always like to say, and I've said this many times, but consistency will beat out perfection anytime. Like people are going always for, like when everything's perfect, I'll just do it all at once. It never happens. That's the problem. It never happens. So if you consistently, like you mentioned earlier about meditation, getting up and say, maybe it's morning, maybe it's night. I believe if you win the morning, you win the day. That's always been in my soul. I've been a morning person my whole life. And now I'm even more of a morning person. But you spend the time, you invest the time in yourself because you are most important. You spend the time in yourself. And then because if you work and you meditate and you work with this and you consistently grow in all the 4 F's, right? The faith, family, fitness, and finance, you're constantly growing in all of those. Think about how you show up to your family, to your team, to the world, right? You show up so much better because you're working on you. So it's just like the what they say on the airplane. When the cabin pressure drops, put the mask on yourself first, and then you can do your family. Because if not, you're going to die and you're not going to be able to help them. It's the same exact concept here. If you think just running hard at money constantly, trying to make more and more and more in each project is going to give you what you want, you may end up only with money at the end and lose everything else.
Yeah.
You must every day be working on all of those things. And it's tough as a business owner, as a father, as a husband, wife, whatever. Like there's a lot of responsibilities, but having those micro rituals every day, to your point, meditating and working on your business and putting time aside for yourself, that is the key to success, because at the end, you'll have more than just money. What do you think about that, Jim?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's, it's really important. It's one of those things that, like I said, the little things add up to be a big things in the end. And as you're talking, I had like 3 really good ideas, and then I forgot them all. So it's on you listening.
That's why I take notes when you're talking.
Yeah. But the one thing that I've been doing lately, I got out of shape, so I decided, I got to get back in shape here. So I turned this YouTube video on. It's this lady. She kicks my butt every morning. I do like a 30-minute HIIT program. It's burpees and push-ups and jumping jacks. You're just sweating by the end. Mm-hmm. And the first couple of days were like really hard. I was gasping. Like I was like, had to take breaks, and, and I'm looking at this lady and she's like just doing it like flawlessly. And I just keep it, I kept it up. And now like today I was like, oh, that felt pretty good. They didn't feel good up till today. Now I'm finally getting in shape enough that it's like, okay, I'm starting to tolerate it now. And the same thing in business, when you start new ideas and strategies or systems, they can be painful. It's like, I have to stop and go make calls or whatever it is. But it's like the more you do it and the more routine you get into doing it, the easier it becomes, right? Yeah. It's just the way things work. It's like I always use the analogy riding a bike. A lot of times I use the analogy of football. Football is a great business analogy because you need a coach. It's ironic that I've always had coaches, right? And that's why I hook up with guys like you, because you're basically a coach. It's like I want to rub elbows with guys like you because we sort of think the same, and it's all about helping people and getting them to see things in ways maybe they haven't thought of. And that's important because, like you said, if you're just always in the hustle and grind and working towards money, you may have money, but money is not going to make you happy. The happiness comes from within. I mean, once you realize, I never realized that. I always thought happiness was out there somewhere, and I'll get happy someday when I have enough money. Well, that didn't work. And then, I'll get happy when I have time. That didn't work. So you have to create the happiness within, no matter what your situation is. And then you'll attract more wealth and happiness to you. But, the one thing we teach people is simple things like, I know the recession's coming, and, it's hard to find employees, and it always was hard to find employees. Maybe it's a little harder now. But, that was always my big focus in my business, was finding employees. The biggest thing companies can learn in my small vision is if you start now to attract people, be an attractor of people to your business, that is going to help you beat out your competition in so many ways, because it's not about throwing more money at people. they want to come to a place where it's fun to work. They like the people. It's a good culture. It's clean. It's friendly. You're productive. They have responsibility. A lot of things like that, and it attracts people. So once you set a company up like that, then you're an attractor. You're like honey, and the bees are coming for you.
Yep.
Or the flower, and the bees are coming for you. Would you agree with that, Josh?
I would. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the goal is always to have that space. And, I've said it many times in this podcast, but I believe a business is a conduit to help everybody on the team achieve their goals faster. Right. And when you find people that are more focused on the team dynamic and they all have similar, objectives, let's put it that way, or not even similar, but they have objectives that are clear and concise, then the company can help build that faster for them. And then they're loyal, they stick around, they give 110%, right? Everybody wins. If it's the old style where the king and the peasant, where the king is the boss and they slap the whip and snap the whip, and then the peasants run around and do their thing, and they're always, pissed off at the king at that point because they just want to keep taking and give them minimal amounts. Like if that's your mindset, you're fucked. Let's put it that way, right? It doesn't get any simpler than that. But when you say, look, come aboard our team, and our goal here is to make sure you get to your dreams faster, why would anybody say no to that? No, I know right now it's crazy. Everybody's looking for help. There's a great resignation going on and changes going on everywhere. We see that. And I know a lot are struggling, even really good companies that have really good, teams and all. They're still struggling to find good people. I don't know whether there's enough out there for the demand right now, at least for now. But, it's important to be thinking. I had another thought when we were talking earlier about this. I know when I first started out, I was an island. I knew everything. And if I didn't know it, I'd go find out, but it had to be my idea, right? I was too proud to ask for help. And thank God I got rid of that early in my career, but it took a little while, right? Because I'm like, this is a business. If I didn't do it, then it's not really mine. And if someone tells me how to do it, then I almost feel like I didn't think of it myself. And it's the ego playing games with us. Anyway. And I knew that a lot of times I got into situations where I didn't know a way out. And I lived with a lot of stress and anxiety running a business, a ton of stress and anxiety, to the point where I had a hard time falling asleep at night. I would wake up in the middle, jack myself awake, and I'd be like, whoa, holy crap, I got to deal with this tomorrow. Oh my God. And you get down, it's 2:00 in the morning and your nerves are shot and you're like, oh, I can't sleep right now. That anxiety that comes with you as a business owner, I thought that was normal. I thought that was something that is inevitable with a business. But what I learned over time is it doesn't have to be that way. When you surround yourself with a team, with a mentor group, with a coach, with somebody who's been through the path before, the reason why you're getting all that anxiety is because you're afraid of a million possible things that could happen bad to you, right? All those million bad things that could happen over this one situation. You just fill in the blank. The reality is when you work with a coach or a mentor, you tell them the problem, they're like, yeah, there's only two things that could happen. It's either this or this. And all of a sudden, those million things that you were up at night with all that stress going crazy about, you realize there are two things, and somebody who's already killed that. So what's the big deal? Go back to bed. Yeah. That was what I learned. I was like, holy crap, I don't have to do this alone. I don't have to worry about, to your point, if I get sick, I lose it all. My family is going to be on the street. It's not going to work. So having the idea of having somebody close by you and making sure that you aren't that island is so critical to scaling fast and to doing it with less stress and less anxiety, because it's all new. It's not a million things. It could only be one or two.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Those are great points. And, I always like to say that, I'll tell guys right up front, I don't know everything. I'm not the ultimate coach. I'm not your last stop, but I can definitely will advance you right to the next level. No problem. I know I have confidence in doing that, but I don't pretend to have all the answers. It's just human nature. It's just not how it works. But I have a lot of good information for them. And, what I tell them is, like you said, coaching, I tell them coaching expedites your success. You save so much time, anxiety, and worry by getting the answers you need and having a plan to follow rather than just winging it, trying to figure it out. Oh, I didn't see that problem coming. That one blindsided me. We've all had problems like blindsided you. Oh, didn't see that one coming. Yep. You and I have been through all this stuff. I've been sued. I've lost money on jobs. I made all the mistakes. And this is what I take, and you do too, I'm sure, and say, don't do that. You're heading there, turn around now because it's nothing going down that path is going to end up good. But it's good right now. Yeah, it's good right now. But here's what happens. And it's just how it works. And that's what I learned of my coaching guys that I had, they
Yep.
really helpful. Just, it's nice to have somebody tap you on the shoulder and be like, why are you doing it this way? Just ask a question instead of you just like digging away and going like a crazy man and working all kinds of hours. Like what I train my guys to do is work less hours. My average work day was 9 hours. And I refuse to be out working till 7, 8 at night. I mean, sometimes you get stuck on a job, whatever, you do it. But I used to, my family life was important. So we would take the kids and go out west in the summertime for 15 days, 20 days, take a vacation while my operations ran full swing. I didn't shut anything down. And then we did the same thing in winter. We plowed snow for 25 years. So we'd get on Fort Lauderdale. I'd pull the kids out of school. We'd get down for like 2 weeks, enjoy it while my snowplow operations ran. And a lot of companies are like, how'd you do that? I'm like, systems.
Yes.
Systems. It's not that I'm that much smarter. I just put systems in place to make it work.
Dude, I mean, you nailed it on the head right there. Now, I'm going to play a game with you. All right, Jim, I'm a new business starting out. The idea of systems bores the hell out of me and scares me at the same time. How do I get started? What would be a recommendation for people starting that like where should I start with a system? What should be a system I should even create first? Like, how do you start people on that journey?
Yep. Well, I think a level deeper is a question, and you nailed it here a little bit ago, was when you said that you felt like you knew everything, you had to figure everything out yourself, you didn't really need the help, all that stuff. So the first thing I'd say is, and it's not my saying, I think it's Dan Kennedy's saying, it's like, you can have a big ego or you can have a big bank account, but you can't have both. So I tell my guys, the only way I'm going to help you be successful is you have to lose your ego, like thinking you know it all or you're cool or whatever it is. Like, you just need to break it down to basic level, and then we'll start together and learn. Not to say you have to take all of my advice and, it's God, it's the Bible or whatever, but basically, it's hard to be successful when you have a big ego. Like, everything, you're judging people. I tell my guys, don't judge people, even though we do judge people. Like, you can't judge people because you don't know always what's going on with the other person, So you have to lead with empathy. You have to lead with the intent of helping people be successful, right? Mm-hmm. My goal is to help you get to the next level, right? And that comes through when you're working with them. There's so many different ways. A simple system would be, obviously they wear too many hats. So first thing is, let's take some hats off your head, all right? And I try to get them to tell me what hats they would like to take off, And then they start with, I'd like to take 10 of them off. I want to get rid. Well, no, that's too much. You can't get rid of sales and estimating, and you got to start small. So one would be delegate. Time's everything. We're in a seasonal business. Time is all we got. So usually a big push is, okay, one system would be to try to free up a day, as we call it, or half a day, an hour a day, an hour a week. But start to focus on freeing up a little time, where then you have a 4 hour block per week that you can focus on putting systems into place. Otherwise, it never gets done because you're just running the perpetual mouse, the mouse in the wheel. You're just putting out brush fires. Oh, I got to answer this email, and I got this lady's. Oh, I got to find this employee's unhappy, and I got to have this talk. You're just all over the board. Mm-hmm. You have to free up time to start to put systems. That would be the first step. And we show them, like, for example, it's amazing. Everybody's so busy, but as I break down, we start having conversation with guys. I'm like, well, tell me about your day. Well, I went over to the nursery and picked up plants. And I'm like, pardon me? I'm like, what? Yeah. Come back again? Well, I went to the nursery, and they don't even get it. Like, I went to the nursery. How long did you stay there? Oh, it was a couple hours. Yeah. And you're the owner? Yeah, I'm the owner. That's a truck driver job. You're not a truck driver. You're the CEO of the company. So right there, and I found companies they're spending 10, 20 hours a month delivering. I had a guy who was a $2 million a year company filling up gas cans for his crew. I'm like, pardon me? Pardon me.
Yeah.
Just things like that, right, Josh? It's just little things.
Say that in my good ear.
Like, it's just little habits that need changed. And it's really all about, we focus on, taking some maybe what are bad habits or time wasting habits and changing them to good habits. Because if you want to be successful, you have to change habits.
No, I totally agree. And, to further your point, I remember, being in business 25 years in the beginning where I was out in the field working with the family and employees and all that stuff, and like on the ground, laying pavers, planting bushes, doing all that good stuff. And then for me stepping back and going like, I'll go get the plants, I'll go get the pavers, I'll get that extra load of stone. I felt like, damn, this is awesome. I don't have to work. I can just go to I could sit and do some windshield time and go to the nurseries, and exactly what you just mentioned. I could do that, and my people are working for me. So now I'm a business owner. I don't have to do the work, but I actually get the reward at the end. I get the money. This is what it's like to be a business owner. And I almost got stuck there, dude. I almost got stuck in that mindset, and I think a lot do, because I think that's what a business owner is. I'm like, no. It really became clear for me when I realized, to your point, I'm spending a lot of time driving to places where people can figure this out themselves. Why not have that $15 or $20 an hour guy go do this? I can go back to my office and I can sell projects and make $100 or $1,000 an hour just by doing that task. So why am I even getting myself involved with $15 or $20 an hour tasks when my biggest value as the owner is to run this ship and make sure it is profitable? And if I don't do that, I will consistently lose money, as opposed to making money. And it was this whole entire business thing all about. So I can relate, dude, because I used to think that was being a business owner, knowing that I didn't have to swing the hammer, and that was success. And it was for one step, but don't get stuck there.
Yep. And just to add to that, the guy I was telling you earlier who got a job that was $90,000 more than the competition, and I asked him what changed. He said, follow-up was the one. And the other one I just thought of was, he said, I took myself out of the field.
Yeah.
And now he went from $1 million last year to he's already at $1 million in May by taking himself out of the field. A number of other guys in my coaching program have done the same. They've doubled their business inside 12 months, and they've been in business 10 years before that. Yeah. What changed? Just little habits, focusing on, and some guys will say, I like working in the field. I enjoy it. Great. Stay in the field, but you have to have a salesperson. You have to have somebody doing the books. You can't just neglect that stuff, If you really want to be in the field the whole time, then you have to have somebody out selling, because it just doesn't work when you line up all that work and you're out in the field and then you get all the work done and now you're scrambling to get more work in. I've done that for a number of years. That's no fun either. That's not a way to run a business. No, it's just too frustrating. It's too stressful. And, you always have a zillion things on the back of your mind. So the goal is to take the hats off your head. And so many times I'll have guys say, oh, I'd love to talk to you, but I just don't have time. And I say to them, listen, you're out of position. That's why you don't have time. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, you're on the baseball field and you're the only guy playing the baseball game, and you're trying to be catcher. You're trying to be the pitcher. You're trying to be the shortstop and the left fielder, because you have all these hats on your head, and you're trying to, we all know that's insane. Yeah, that would be great. You can't play baseball that way. No, I can't. Then why are you running your business this way? Yep. And this is why you don't have time to talk to me or Josh, because you got all these thousands of little stupid stuff that you're doing that you need to rearrange and be back in position and be much more profitable. And it's just that little thing. If you get them to see it, it's like, okay, then maybe we should just sit down and talk for a while. Yeah, that's good. That's a wise decision.
Yeah, exactly. And it's oh wow, the fruits that it produces is amazing. And you're right, because I think we've both been there, Jim. I know that we both started out and we don't know this stuff, right? You get your EIN and off you go paying taxes. That's really all they care about. So now it's a matter of figuring this whole thing out. Now, tell me a little bit about, over your career, how your mindset has shifted and your perspective of how business fits in your life and family and all that stuff. How's that changed over time for you?
Well, you had said earlier about, it hit home with me about when you were running your business, how you would wake up at night and think all these things, and then you're like sweating and like you're wide awake at 3 a.m. and like, what am I going to do about this? I got to figure it out by 7 a.m. and you're all freaked out. I used to do that for years. I would sit right up in bed and be like pacing the house, like trying to figure my problems out. And that's a miserable life too. So that's when I started reaching out, like, there's got to be something better. I can't keep doing this for another 20 years. I mean, this is no fun. I got to the point where I starting to not enjoy it, just because it was so stressful and things were going well money wise, but it's just always like putting out brush fires. So, my wife and I and the kids, when they were younger, we were at a horse show down in Quentin. You know where Quentin's at, near Harrisburg?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So we were at a horse show and we had some time to kill. My wife's into horses. And so we never go to a garage sale. So we were driving by, we're like, we got an hour to kill. Let's just stop in. There's a garage sale, spring day. Stopped in and kids were looking around. I picked up this book and I flipped it open and I read like a paragraph. And this is when I was getting up at night and I was all stressed out. And I read like the first paragraph and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but this is fascinating. And I closed the book and I said to the lady, how much is this? She said, $1. I reached in the pocket. Guess how much I had? $1.
Wow.
Gave her the $1. Here it was hypnocybernetics. And it was very good. It was about how to basically change habits and through meditation and thought process, change your life. And I took that book home and I didn't understand it at all. And I would just start reading it. And it would be like, if you want to learn how to lose weight, you do it. Here's how you do it. And I'm thinking, oh, quit eating so much. No, this isn't what the book says. It's like you mentally picture yourself the way you want to be in the future. Physical, muscle, whatever, no fat. That's what the book teaches you. Teaches you how to quit smoking. Same way. It teaches you how to be successful. It teaches you how to attract money, right? It teaches you how to attract people. So I'm reading this and I read it over and over. And the more I read it, the more hooked I got. I'm like, and the more belief built up in it. Like, and then they gave all these, case studies and testimonials of people did it. It wasn't just some guy wrote a book. This was like, this stuff works. And, it's like, then I started into the meditation. I'll be honest with you, I'm not like some big guru meditation guy. I don't meditate a lot, but I believe in it. And I do take quiet time every day to sit and relax. And because I found that's where some of my better ideas come. And I heard a saying is, if you meditate and learn to listen to your inner self, so to speak, you'll figure out all your problems. You won't have any problems because you'll be told what to do. And that's so true. But anyhow, that's how I got into it, by going to a yard sale, bought a book for $1. Looking back, was that coincidence? I don't think so. That was destiny. Somebody wanted me to have that book in my hand somewhere along the line. So I teach these principles in our group coaching program, which gets guys to like, and for guys who are just like, dude, you're way too deep here. What the heck are you talking about? Meditation. I just want to run a business. I just want to run a landscape business. What are you talking about? Well, this is everything to do with a successful landscape business. Yep. Right. Would you agree with that, Josh?
No, 100%, man. I would. And the funny part is some people, they listen, I'm sure, to the podcast too. And like, Jesus Christ, it's these long-haired freaky people talking about just unicorn bullshit where you got to meditate and you're going to visualize and picture stuff. I just want to make money. Why the hell can't they just show me how to do that? Right. We are showing you how to do that. This is part of that. It's not okay, do these 3 things that don't require any inner work and you get all this extrinsic stuff called money, right? It all starts inside. That's the crazy thing that I took way too long to realize. And once I realized it and I started modeling others that were successful around me, I'm like, holy shit, that's the thread. That's the commonality. They start inside and then it becomes something extrinsic or something you can touch on the outside. I always thought it was the other way around. I thought that once you had the money, to your point earlier, once you had the money, you became happy. I realized in order to even find happiness, you have to work inside first and then the money shows up later. It's the opposite of what you're taught and everything you see. It's the opposite. And it's not even the crazy part here. I know you already know this, Jim. I'm just going to say this for the guests listening. It's not you're trying to build a business. You want it bigger and bigger and bigger because bigger is better. That's what we've been taught, right? And you think that more money is going to bring you more, and it's going to bring you more. A lot more bills, a lot more headaches, a lot more stress and pressure. All of that comes with it because add a zero to everything. That's what it is. How are you managing? Because a guy that's running a $100,000 company cannot run $1 million company with the same mindset, or a $2 million or a $5 million company with the same mindset. That mindset has to grow in direct correlation to the revenue, right? And then if you're thinking that money one day is going to make you happy, it's not the money you're after. I'm going to drop a little nugget on you guys. It's not the money that you're after. It's the feeling you get because of that money. It's the feeling you're after. The money elicits a feeling. That's it. And for some people, $50,000 a year emits an incredible, feeling for them. They're like, wow, this is amazing. And for others, it's $5 million and they're still not happy, right? It's all about what value and what we wire to that money, what feelings, what emotion we wire to it. So be careful, because like I said before, you may end up going like crazy at your business wide open and make a ton of money and end up only with money at the end, and everybody else, your family, your friends, everybody else leaves because you're only focused on one thing. And if you can balance, this is what it's all about, right? Balancing it out, understanding that money is a tool, no different than a hammer, and figuring out how to have joy when you have very little and have joy when you have a lot. That's the secret to fulfillment in life. That's when all of this becomes fun. This is when the nights become peaceful and you can sleep because you're doing it for a different reason. Have you found that to be true, Jim?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we all get into business to, make money, right? We get in, we start mowing lawns, get some cash. Cool. Now, and then it grows. No, I need an employee. And then you hire your first guy and you move on that way. And as your goal is to, mine was too, to make money, right? To be successful, status, and I always tell guys in sales, a good point in the sales process, keep in mind your clients are willing to spend money with you if you add value, but keep in mind what they're also looking for is status. Mm-hmm. Nobody likes to be the low man on a totem pole. Like they want their lawn to look good so they could brag to Mrs. Adams, hey, come down and look at my lawn. I think it looks a little better than your lawn. It's sad to say, keeping up with Joneses, but it's real. But anyhow, like you said, Josh, it's that feeling you get that money gives you. Money's just nothing more than energy. So when you have energy now, what it does, it gives you freedom and freedom to do what you want, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, if you want to travel. So it's not money we're after, but you need the money to be have freedom and have that feeling of what you want to do, but you have to use it wisely. So it's Tony Robbins says, what's he say? He says, if you're miserable or crabby or you're just an asshole, whatever, and you make a lot of money, you're just going to be a bigger a-hole. Right. Yep. It's like nothing changes if it's all about the money. Or if you're greedy and you make a lot of money, you're just going to be a greedier, richer, greedy person. Right. And nothing's going to change. So change comes inside. And also like once you realize that people, what they say to you and it's all about how you react to it. Like somebody could come at you really nasty, attack you. And it's what you put behind. It's the emotion is what you put behind it. If you take it face value and say, oh, this guy hates me or whatever, or you can say, that's coming from him, not me. Right. Yeah. So everything has, it's the meaning you put behind it. Yep. Right. Yep. So you can make it a big deal. Oh, somebody looked at you the wrong way. Now you're going to make a big deal about it. Or somebody, did something to you and you're going to hold that grudge for 2 years, 10 years, which some people do. Or you can just say, one of the biggest things I'll throw this in here is I work with a guy and he was telling about this situation I had. And he looked at me and he's like, and I was waiting for him to give me some long rebuttal and really comfort me, make me feel better, because I was a little perplexed about it. He looked at me and went, so what? And I was like, what do you mean? So what? He's like, so what? Let it go. That's all he said. And I'm like, that was the best advice I ever got. Like, I can either let it get to me or I can just not let it get to me, So what? The world goes on. Life goes on. Yeah. Yep.
Dude, I freaking love that. And you're so right. It's so many times we'll have a client come to us and if they're just having a bad day, right? There's been an accumulation of shit on their day. You happen to be the last person they see. You're going to get all of it, right? It's not directed at you. It's simply an unloading of, and you happen to be a smiling face, happy, right? And then some people, I used to do this, dude. That's why I can fully say this. I used to think it was, oh crap, they don't like me, or I did something wrong, or I'm not good enough, or holy shit, why do I even do this? I should go get a job, right? There's no reason why that this should be this big a deal. And I can't believe that I messed up that bad, right? I take it personally. And I was thinking that life was happening to me, not for me, right? It was happening to me. And I was like, oh crap. What I realized later is I get the opportunity, Jim, every single time to wire the meaning of everything. If somebody comes at me like that, I know that I did an amazing job, that everything is exactly the way we said it was going to be. I know that they're just unloading stuff and they did unload it on me. My choice is how I react. I can't control how they come into the situation, but I can control how I react to the situation. And that is all about, that's where the meditation comes in, dude. Seriously. It's the meditation and centering each day because you know where you come from. And then from there, going out into the world, you can tell when this comes in and you just take a breath and say, I totally understand. Empathize first. I totally understand, Mrs. Jones. I know that this probably wasn't exactly the way you expected it, but can you tell me a little bit more about what really bothers you about it? And all of a sudden she just starts talking and the entire bomb is diffused. And next thing you know, you're laughing and giggling. And she's like, sorry, I took this out on you. I really didn't mean to. But, and think about it. You had the choice in how you did that. You can't choose how she comes to you or reacts, but you can choose how you react to her. And when you do, or him, doesn't matter. When you do, and you have control over that, all of a sudden it flips it around and you're like, huh. Okay, not that big a deal. And if you would have blew your lid because you had a rough day and at the end of the day, a hot day, everybody's bitching and your phone's ringing like crazy, you just blow off on her. You didn't just lose her, you lost all of her friends and all the work you did for months with the designing and all that stuff. You lose all of that because she's like, he's an asshole. Look how he reacted. He blew his fuse.
Yep.
But you got to start, to your point, you got to start each day winning the morning because then you win the day and those things just bounce off you like you have a bulletproof vest on.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's and you know, this isn't a system, but it's just like a little thing that I always tell my guys is, hey, you're not a landscaper. You're not a landscape business. You're not a, lawn maintenance business. You're not a hardscaper. You know what business you're in? You're in the people business. And once you get that through your head and you focus on people and how to communicate with them and how to understand them and how to empathize with them and work with them, you'll be a rich person.
Yes.
Both emotionally and money in the bank. So lose the ego or, you can't have a big ego. You can either have a big ego or a big bank account, but you can't have both.
I love that. It's so true too. It's so true. When you finally put that ego to the side and you start serving from your heart, the whole freaking world changes. Everything changes. It's so good.
Absolutely.
Jim, I could talk to you for another 20 minutes, 20 hours. I could talk to you a long time, right? And I'm sure we will at some point. But so tell us how people can find you, Jim, if they're interested in the services, your coaching program. How do they find you?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group in it's Landscape Systems and Marketing. It's just Google it on Facebook, Landscape Systems and Marketing. My email is jim@jimwertz.com. If you want to shoot me an email, jim@jimwertz.com. And just hit me up. What I do, Josh, is basically I do a free 30-minute, like basically what I call a strategy call, which is to get serious people who want to improve their business and be successful and improve their business. We talk about, okay, what's your roadblock? What's the bottleneck, right? And then we actually fix the problem on the call. So it's a free call. It's not a sales call. And at the end, we part ways. And if they got great information, fantastic, go use it. Or if they want to continue to work with me, they can do that too. So that's sort of how I do it.
That's why I love you, brother. It's all about value first. It's not the hard sell. That stuff is so freaking ancient. And if you're still doing that shit and think you got to figure out 94 different ways to close somebody who doesn't want what you have, you're on the wrong train, brother. You're going down the wrong tracks. You got to start focusing on that value, man. And you get it. So I love that. So good.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other nuggets you want to bestow on our listeners here before we wrap up?
Yeah, just realize that the problems you're having in your business today is because of you. I hate to come down on you, but it's all the problems you're having in your business is how you're, in other words, let me try to rephrase this. So any issues you're having in your business with employees is because of you and the culture you built into your business, good or bad. So if you're having people leave you, it's not them, it's you. And that's what really my coaches told me. It's like, you need to understand that 100% of the problems in your business, you need to take on 100% of the responsibility. And once I started doing that, then things rapidly started improving.
Love that. So true, man. Once you take full responsibility for your life, everything in it, life changes. So Jim, thank you for coming on today. This has been a pleasure. I always love talking to you. And guys, it's our goal to impact and empower 2 million lives in the next 4.5 years. And we're well on our way to do that. Thanks to everyone who listens and shares this podcast. So if you know somebody who could benefit from the conversation that Jim and I had today and grow their business, or think that they should call Jim or whatever, send it to them, please. The more we share this kind of thing, the better the entire industry rises. We all can get, paid what we're worth. We can get out there working with clients who expect to pay us us for what we're doing and not treat us like third-class citizens and all that good stuff. So, that's our mission. And thank you so much for everyone who's supported this and have pushed us forward. We always enjoy bringing amazing new guests on the show in order to open up your mind and perspective to things about business and mindset and everything like that. So thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next week.